cold calling pickup rates. So, Kyle, do you want to talk a little bit about this? I think there might have been some data from Ryan on this, but the
Yeah.
average pickup rate, and I can kind of comment on some of this stuff, but what did you look at with the data around pickup rates? What were some of the findings?
Yeah, so we have a lot of it up here. I will share Ryan Reisert. He's the owner of Phone Ready Leads, friend of mine. He had done an analysis on different phone numbers and the pickup rates for those phone numbers. So that's the percentage that a person answers a phone, right? And what he actually found, which was shocking to me, between calling a company's main line, calling a direct company line, so somebody's direct line, but housed by the company, and then their mobile phone number, it was actually the direct phone line that had the highest kind of first time dial to connect rate. And if I remember right, his average was around 6% total between all of the, if you just call a random phone number for the first time. This is by far the biggest challenge with cold calling. But one thing I want to highlight here is doing outbound prospecting is inefficient. So I feel like sometimes we get caught up in trying to make it the most efficient it possibly can. It's still not going to work most of the time. You're still going to have an under 50% dial to connect rate. You're still going to have an under 50%, in most cases, connect to meeting scheduled rate. So you have to be comfortable that we're not going to have pure efficiency here, and we're really fighting for a percentage point. So I can talk about these numbers here, and generally what I see is 5% is around the average that I've seen of if you just call a cold list, the percentage of people who pick up the phone. Then around, getting up to the 9 to the 10% is really where you're striving to be. If you can be in like 7 to 10, like you're in pretty good shape. Anything over 10, I'm pretty happy with. And these are just the numbers that I've seen through our calling.
So the 6.8% average pickup rate, the manual verification, I'll add some commentary on. This is if you're using something like Ryan's Phone Ready Leads, where they'll have a team of people kind of manually verify leads of people to pick up. The pickup rate tends to be around 15% for that. And there are some tools out there too that kind of automate that function as well. I think that one of the big things is, and what I've seen working with teams is there is this long-standing belief that it's not good to call on Mondays and Fridays because prospects are back-to-back meetings on Mondays and Fridays. They're going to be super grumpy because of a long week. And oftentimes the highest pickup rates are Friday afternoons and first thing Monday morning. Calling cell phones, like we talked about, calling 5 minutes before or after the end of the hour if it's an executive you're trying to get a hold of. Calling prospects that open up emails, running a report like this in your sales engagement tool to show you across the org when is the pickup rate the highest. So, Cynthia, anything that you do in your org to kind of maximize pickup rate, because there's a data component to it, and then Kyle, as you like to say, there's a workflow component too. There are things that the rep can do to increase pickup rates. Cynthia, anything come to mind for you when you're thinking about pickup rates and ways that people can optimize
I
pickups?
think that it is always a good time to call, as you said. I don't believe in anything that you shouldn't call on Fridays because, like I said, there is no correct time to call. You're always interrupting people's days. Even if you call it 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever time, you're always going to be interrupting somebody's days. So, for example, what you said is true. When my reps, sometimes they start, like, we've had a bad week and then suddenly I do a power hour on Fridays, Friday afternoon, 10, 12 meetings get booked on a Friday afternoon. What reps obviously should be careful with is obviously you don't want to set the meeting for a Monday morning, especially on the long weekend. People forget holidays, whatever. But it is never, I'm going to change it, a good time to call because you're always interrupting people's day. So it's all about picking the phone and not being afraid to call. Like, you're going to get a ton of rejection. Obviously, when you're cold calling, it's the number one channel where you're going to get to speak to most people. It's something that I evangelize on my LinkedIn and I say that to reps. But you should pick up the phone, period. That's it. You should try different call times. You should try Friday afternoons, Friday mornings. Like, you can switch schedules around, and then you obviously need to create call blocks, especially if you're an SDR or a BDR. It's 90% of your day is calling, especially if your total addressable market is big and you have a ton of people to call.